Good morning, children. Hope you are safe at home. Today we will do lesson number 27, The Dreadful Guest. Dreadful means very dangerous and scary, and guest means someone who comes over. So this story is about a very dangerous guest. Let's read the story. Once upon a time, the king of Russia decided to hold a grand feast. He invited princes, rich merchants, brave warriors, and all the important people in his kingdom. So, this is an old story when the king of Russia wanted to have a big party. So he invited some very important people from his kingdom, like princes, rich traders, warriors who are very brave, and some other important people. So there was a grand celebration by the king. On the night of the feast, the king and his guests sat together at a long table in the banquet hall. They talked and laughed, and everyone was happy. So, on the night of this big celebration, the king and all the guests that he invited were sitting for dinner on a very long table in the banquet hall, and they were enjoying their dinner. And while eating, they talked about important things, they laughed and cracked jokes, and everyone was having a great time and enjoying their dinner. Suddenly, a huge animal burst into the hall. It was a horrible looking dragon. It was as tall as a tree, as broad as a house, with teeth like spikes and claws like knives. His skin was hard and scaly, and his eyes red. Red hot flames shot forth from his mouth and black smoke from his nostrils. So, during this time when they were all enjoying themselves, suddenly from nowhere, a very big animal jumped into this hall. And this was a horrible looking dragon. So, it was a very ugly and dangerous looking creature. It was so big, as tall as a huge tree, and it was so wide that it was just like a house. His teeth were very sharp and pointy, and his claws on his fingers were as sharp as knives. His skin was very hard and had many scales, just like a fish, and he had red eyes. And when he opened his mouth, there was red fire being thrown out from his mouth. And along with it, black smoke would come out from his nostrils. So he was a very scary animal. Now, this dragon was also a very mean creature. Mean means cruel. So he was a very cruel and mean creature. He loved to be a spoilsport and a killjoy. Spoilsport and killjoy means when you try to stop other people from enjoying themselves. So you're trying to ruin or spoil everything. He walked straight to the head of the table and pushed himself between the king and the queen. Everyone stopped talking. Everyone was scared. So this dragon had come only to spoil this big celebration. So he walked to the center of the table where the king and queen were sitting, and he jumped in between them and sat over there. Everyone who was laughing and enjoying stopped themselves, and all were quiet because they were very, very scared of this dragon. Well, not everyone. The brave warrior Ivan was not afraid of dragons. "What a rude, impolite creature you are," he said angrily. So everybody on the table stopped talking, including the king and the queen. But there was one person who was not at all angry and scared. This person was a brave warrior whose name was Ivan. Ivan spoke up and he told the dragon, "You are so rude and not polite, and you have come and interrupted this celebration of ours." So, this brave warrior Ivan was the only person in that hall who spoke against the dragon. Now, let's see what happens next. Just then the servants brought in the food and set the platters on the table. But before they had a chance to serve the food to the king and the queen and the guests, the dragon began to gobble up everything. The king and the queen did not know what to do. Nobody could stop the dragon. So, when the king's servants brought in the food for everybody, they too were scared of the dragon. They kept all the plates just like that on the table. But before they could serve the food to the king and the queen, the dragon was so rude and not mannered that he started putting everything in his mouth and eating it up. Nobody could say anything again. Even the king and the queen kept quiet. But Ivan spoke up again. "Nobody has ever taught you any manners, I can see," he said. "I hope you choke on the food you are gobbling up so greedily." So Ivan got very angry to see that the dragon was gobbling up all the food kept for the king, queen, and the guests. So again he spoke up and told the dragon, "I don't think you have any manners. This food is for all of us over here, and you are busy gobbling up and finishing off our food. I hope you choke while eating." Choke means I hope the food gets stuck in your throat and you choke up. Now this was more than the dragon could stand. Means now the dragon couldn't take what Ivan was saying anymore. He was getting very upset with Ivan. He puffed out fire. So he spat out fire and sprang to his feet. Sprang to his feet means he got off the table and jumped up on his feet. And he said, "I dare you to come out and fight with me, Ivan." He roared. "Are you ready?" So now, because the dragon was very angry, he jumped off the table and he spat out some fire to scare Ivan. And he told Ivan, "I don't get scared of you. I dare you. Come and fight with a dragon like me. Are you ready for this challenge?" "Of course," said Ivan. Ivan said, "Yes, I'm ready. I'm not scared." "What have you done, Ivan?" said the king. "Let's put up with the dragon for some more time. You cannot fight a dragon. It will burn and kill you in no time." So when Ivan accepted the challenge of the dragon to fight him, the king spoke to Ivan and told him, "Don't do this. You will not be able to fight with this big dragon. We will all keep quiet for some time and the dragon will do his stuff and leave. But don't take up with this challenge or you'll get killed." Now let's see if Ivan listens to the king or fights the dragon. But Ivan was not afraid. He knew that dragons were dreadful. Dreadful means dangerous, but not intelligent. He was sure he could find a way of killing the dragon. So Ivan was not scared of the dragon. He knew that they are dangerous creatures, but he also knew that dragons are not very smart. He knew that in some way or the other, he'll be able to trick the dragon and kill him. Everyone walked out to the palace courtyard. Courtyard is the huge garden in front of the palace. So all the guests and the king and queen moved out of that hall where they were eating into the courtyard because now there was going to be a fight between the dragon and Ivan in the banquet hall. The dragon and the brave warrior faced each other. So now comes the fight between the dragon and Ivan. The dragon smiled a very mean and wicked smile. Why did he smile very mean and wicked? Because he knew that he was so strong and in no time he could kill Ivan. What does he say? "Now, how shall I kill you, you silly fool?" So he's asking Ivan, "Tell me, how can I kill you now?" "Shall I burn you to death?" Means, should I kill you with my fire and burn you to death? "Shall I smother you with fumes?" So shall I smother means put my fumes all over you? Or better still, shall I tear you up with my knife claws? Or he's asking, instead of burning you with fire, should I tear up your body with my claws which are like knives? Or shall I eat you up with my spiked teeth? Or shall I directly eat you up with my sharp and pointy teeth? So the dragon is asking Ivan, which way should I kill you? Tell me. In the meanwhile, however, the clever Ivan had thought of a way of tricking the wicked creature. So when the dragon was talking, Ivan was already thinking of a trick or a way in which he can kill the dragon. He folded his arms on his chest and said in a clear voice, "Now, look here, dragon. When you dared me to fight you, I agreed readily. I thought it would be a fight between just the two of us." Then he pointed behind the dragon. "Why have you brought a whole army to help you fight?" So this was Ivan's plan. So when the dragon finished speaking, he stood with his arms folded over his chest and very bravely replied back to the dragon and told him, "You told me that you would fight alone with me." And then he pointed out at the back of the dragon and told him, "Why have you brought such a big army to fight me? Are you scared?" So he was trying to trick the dragon. The dragon was as stupid as Ivan thought him to be. So he was a foolish dragon. He believed what Ivan was saying. He turned his head to see what Ivan was pointed at. Quick as a flash of lightning, Ivan drew his sword and cut off the dragon's head. So the dragon was very foolish. He believed what Ivan told him and turned back to look at what army Ivan is talking about. Immediately, Ivan pulled out his sword and cut off the dragon's head. So the foolish dragon was killed right away. There he said, "We won't have to put up with this dreadful guest ever again." So Ivan was the brave warrior who killed this cruel and dreadful guest and showed everyone how brave and how smart he was to trick the dragon and kill this dreadful guest that had stopped their celebration. That was all in the story today, children. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.